On June 30th, 2013, a 20-year-old showed up to referee an amateur soccer match in rural Brazil. He never made it home, but he wasn't the first one to die that day. Pio XII is a small, poor municipality deep in the state of Maranhão in northeastern Brazil. There are no stadiums here, no floodlights, no security guards at the gate, no gate at all, just a dirt pitch with wooden goalposts hammered into dry ground, and a crowd made up entirely of the player's own family and friends. Every person watching knows every person playing. Football in places like this isn't a pastime. It's the only thing happening. It's identity. It's pride. It's how you prove something about yourself in a place where there isn't much else to prove it with. Otávio Jordão da Silva Cantanhede was a 20-years-old aspiring referee. He wanted to be a professional referee one day. For now, that meant showing up to amateur matches in places like this. Unpaid and unprotected. He carried a knife, which is not as surprising as it sounds. In rural Brazilian, referee violence in amateur football was common enough that going unarmed onto a pitch felt like a reckless choice. In the past, referees had been beaten, chased, attacked after bad calls. Carrying a knife wasn't aggression, it was just simply being prepared. The first half of the game went normally, but about 15 minutes into the second half, Josenier dos Santos Abreu committed a foul. Josenier was a 30-years-old local player who was well known in the local community. When Otávio gave him a yellow card, Josenier argued. Aggressively pleading and getting in his face, Otávio made the decision to give him a second yellow, making it a red card and sending Josenier out of the game permanently. But Josenier refused to leave. In professional football, they thankfully have a system for this. Fourth officials, security, and governing bodies. Any player who refuses to leave gets escorted. However, here in rural Brazil, there was no system. So there was Otávio standing in the middle of a dirt pitch, holding a red card, with an angry man walking toward him and a crowd of that man's family watching from the sideline. Josenier moved toward him. Otávio reached for the knife and reactively stabbed Josenier once in the chest. Josenier collapsed, and he died before he reached the hospital. What happened next is one of the most brutal things ever recorded at a sporting event. Josenier's family was in that crowd. They had just watched him bleed out on a pitch over a card dispute. His family rushed the field and Otávio ran. Unfortunately, he didn't make it very far. The mob stoned him, beat him with fists and sticks. Someone smashed a bottle over his skull. Someone ran a motorcycle over his body. He was dead long before what came to happen. The riled-up family and community members then took Otávio's body and they beheaded him, quartered his body, and impaled his head on a wooden stake at the center of the pitch. The same pitch he had been refereeing 20 minutes earlier had now become something closer to a gladiator arena. Two men were eventually caught and both confessed to parts of it. However, others involved in the crime were never found. There were no trials and no convictions. The infamous story spread across the whole world and virtually no one was held accountable. Somewhere in Maranhão, the people who did this went home. Despite all that, the field that occurred on has probably hosted another match since.